Too uneven, augmentation. Too wide, too close, too droopy. Should I get a breast lift? Will they feed my child? Full of glandular and fatty tissue, lymph nodes, and blood vessels. Will they kill me? 90 minutes till curtain.
Boobs, knockers, cans, dirty pillows.
Jugs, fun bags, swinging betties, Twin Peaks.
Melons, biscuits, cookies, milk monsters,
Chesticles, rum catchers, and flesh balloons.
sweater puppies, hooters, cat flaps, otters,
Balungas, rack, bazookas, boobies, meet the girls.
Damn tits! You ever wonder why men are so obsessed with buxom women's boobs? I have a theory. It's the suppression of our suckling reflex after childhood. The weaning from the female teeth after infancy instead of, say, a more conceivable age, like, I don't know, 70 or so. And this has contributed to this masculine obsession, whether they're a mere protuberance, Dolly Parton-esque in stature, or any size in between. I mean, these beautiful organs have literally contributed to this masculine obsession. Whether lovely called tits, boobs, hooters, or jugs, they've given rise to many things, especially in acne-faced, hormone-driven teenage boys. Now, thank goodness, there are oversized geography books and the ability to slouch on demand. But, on a more serious note, boobs have played a great influence on the financial stability of our country, whereas bras have also played a great influence on the stability of the boobs themselves. Literally, whole industries wouldn't exist without the continued support of boobs. Playtex, Playboy, Victoria's Secret, and many others would not enjoy their continued existence and financial success without the support of these lovely feminine accoutrements. And holy hell, the unemployment rate in the topless dancer and jogging sweatshirt and sweater industry would run rampant in this country. Now, usually associated with excess gluttony, what, on the other hand, can be said about man boobs? Moves. These unsightly hanging lumps of flesh that no man wants are usually the result of underindulgence in exercise or overindulgence in steroids. They're the subject of complete derision at a local beach. A child is going to point and say, "Look, Mom, a man with tits!" And And there is no telling the kind of psychological damage that will have on an impressionable child. My advice to boob-challenged men, hit the gym and stay off the beach. Real boobs, on the other hand, should be celebrated at the Super Bowl with floats of naked lady boobs jiggling in the winds or bobbing on the field at halftime. It might even help the NFL boost its sagging ratings, if you know what I mean. Now, I've certainly said a mouthful, both literally and figuratively. Boobs forever. Enough said.
Moves. Mainly fun bags. Whatever you call them, dudes get boobs. Man boobs. They're not as fun as what the ladies got going on. At least I don't think so. But they happen. Everyone's story is a little different. Jumping jacks turns into smacking your face with your mitts. That's me and titties. You get the idea. Some guys like to fake as if they're pet solitary crews. Guys, they're fooling themselves. My story's a little different, though. When I got a tattoo on my ribs, I thought I was going to be fit and skinny forever. My dumbass forgot that food, beer, and being lazy were just so much fun. When I was 17, I was obsessed with the symbol of the phoenix. You know, rising from the ashes, overcoming a broken heart, life, soul, just the thought of moving beyond the tough stuff. I got a tattoo of the iconic avian on my ribs with its head positioned underneath my sexy, forever lasting pecs. It was the most painful goddamn thing. The tattoo artist actually taped together 3 popsicle sticks and told me to bite down on them. And I just looked at him and was like, "You serious? You think I'm fucking kidding?" He wasn't. By the end, I'd actually bitten through the top and bottom, giant popsicle stick, and left an indent in the middle, fit to be a mold for the dentist. I loved my tattoo. On the ribs where no ass kicking will ever compare, according to the tattoo artist. Problem is, my chest over the years, how do I say this? Grew out and grew down. Every time I ran, the moves started going. Hell, even a quick trot got them going. The worst for me, though, is how it affected my tattoo. I named it Frankie, you see, and Frankie's head was held high and proud for many years. Now, mounds of flabby flesh weigh his head down. I actually have to lift up my arm just to show the poor little guy's face. Guys, he's sad. He's smushed. Fucking man boobs.
You know, the hardest part about losing weight, it's not going to the gym. It's getting dressed to go to the gym. Here you are, everywhere you go, people have exercise clothes on. All of a sudden, exercise clothes are in fashion. I don't even think half of them have done anything remotely like exercising. So, here you are trying to be part of the world in fashion. In the privacy of your own home, trying to get into a spandex. Getting your head and arms in, that's a breeze. The hard part comes when That's true. You try to force the roll down, but it seems to be stuck up. You wiggle and unroll, but if you've forgotten to put your hair in a bun, then it is rolled up and back in. As you snatch a ball squat in the back of your head,
made them feel ashamed of their boobs. We remember the cat calls, the boys yelling down the hallway, "Hey, nice tits," as we try to hide behind our school books and ignore the looks from our jealous classmates. We remember the girls in their B, C, and D cups tittering at our training bras, "Hey, pancake," as in flat as up. Eventually, we learned to accept our full or nearly empty cups. 45 minutes till curtain.
Thank you very much. So, when I was in the 6th grade, my best friend's sister had a slumber party. So I was invited to keep my best friend company. Because you know how that was. We were supposed to stay out of the slumber party and we were supposed to leave them alone. And we tried. And we mostly succeeded, but we overheard that they were gonna do levitation. Oh, that was so cool. Everybody was doing levitation. Of course, we hadn't done it, but everybody else was doing it. And now we were like, this is so cool. We immediately decided that we were gonna pay attention and we were gonna be there when they levitated. We were gonna spot. So we kind of snuck around, and when they started to levitate, we realized that what they did was, well, not when they started, but we saw them all hanging out. They decided to do it in the den, which was right off the kitchen. So what we did was when we saw them all in there, we snuck through the kitchen and we're like peering around the door from the kitchen into the room where they were doing it. And it was so weird, because what they did was they lowered the lights and it was like super dim. And then there was this one girl, and she was laying flat on the floor, face up, and all the girls were kneeling around her. And then the leader, whoever she was saying like these ritualistic phrases. But we thought that was pretty fun. So the two of us started giggling, and we were immediately discovered. So Jo, who was my best friend's sister, immediately came over, and she was reaming right into Dara, and she was just telling her off until one of the other girls was like, "Hey, look at her. She's tiny. If we're gonna levitate anybody, she could levitate." Because I was like in 6th grade and like 4 feet 2 inches tall. I was tiny. So before I knew it, I was gonna be a part of the cool girls party. I was so excited. But I was also kind of nervous. But before I knew it, there I was. I was the girl laying flat on the ground. My back was there, my facing up, and all the girls were kneeled around me. And they dimmed the lights. And the leaders again started to do her ritualistic phrases. And then all of a sudden she said, "Is everybody ready?" And everybody nodded. And they said, "Susie, close your eyes and breathe deep." And then all of a sudden she started to say, "Light as a feather, flat as a board. Light as a feather, flat as a board. Light as a feather." And all of a sudden, I started to hear some giggles, and my back was still flat against that floor. I was not raising up as those giggles got louder, and I could tell that they were all trying to stifle it. I was not levitating, and my eyes were still closed. I felt their fingers, which were all around my body, coming away from my body, and then the laughter got louder and louder, and then I started to laugh too, because I was like, oh my God, this is so weird, it's so quiet, and it's so serious, and this is all really uncomfortable for all of us. And then I opened my eyes, and I realized that they were not laughing with me. I was the only one there who was seriously flat as a board. I mean, my chest was flat as a board. There was no indication at all, if I would ever need a training bra, much less a bra. Well, that happened. But there I was, laughing along with a bunch of older girls who I thought were the coolest. Well, I don't remember if anybody levitated that night. I know that I didn't, but it certainly wasn't because my chest was too heavy.
I've never had voluptuous breasts. You know, a decent chest, average ass, but nothing on me is really voluptuous, you could say. I mean, actually no, not nothing. I've been told once that I have voluptuous full lips. I don't know where that's coming from, you know? I just feel like I was born 3 decades too late, you know? The stick, thin, leggy, twiggy, well, yeah, that's not it anymore, is it? And all the supermodels on all the boys' balls in the 80s and 90s, well, they were sporting big old boobs. And that meant cleavage. Well, you know, after I tried the Wonder Bra and the magic of the water bra, I resigned. But that'll have to rest. And I realized that, all right, being a little leggy and having full lips, well, okay, that's good for me, right? I'm never going to be voluptuous. All right, that's fine, you know? I can be confident with myself. And then, of course, I meet a man who loves me for my brain. Honestly, didn't know they existed. And he actually made me feel beautiful, which was really, really surprising. So then, you know, as we do, we went off on our honeymoon in Mexico, and, well, yeah, your girl could have used 2 Band-Aids to cover up on that cruise, but that probably would have caused her a lot of weird stares and probably a really uncomfortable tan line. But anyway, you know, I felt comfortable in my body. I felt comfortable in normal clothes, you know? Anything can be camouflaged with the right shaping. But I hated that swimwear. I hated, you know, those little tiny triangles trying to hide themselves. It didn't really work. But finally, once I had my daughter, I finally got a little bit of something to make my t-shirt stick out. But then the funny, or I guess not so funny thing, is that we all can have scares, and now I got sore enough to need to go and get an excruciatingly painful mammogram on a Friday afternoon, which of course means I need to wait until Monday, to get the results back. And I'm sitting there the entire weekend just thinking about the worst thing that could possibly happen, only to hear salt and pepper breast? Salt and pepper breast means that I'm going to have calcification, right? I'm going to have these little calcium flecks building up over time and maybe progressively turning into breast cancer. Awesome. So now I have to go and get a mammogram every 6 months instead of the usual 12, which we all enjoy, don't we? Oh, yeah. And now, of course, now that I'm going every 6 months, and now this routine mammogram is now a diagnostic, of course, it's not covered under insurance. Why would it be? So that's great. It's all great. You know what? We're all in the same boat. We're all able to get scares. We're all able to get cancer. It's kind of crazy how we're all just here. We're all feeling the same thing. But you know what? We can all love our boobs. And you know what? I'm starting to love my little boobs. You know, I'm even seeing these celebrities just unembarrassingly celebrating their part of the itty-bitty titty committee. Even wearing no bras, backless dresses on the red carpet. So you know what? I might not be the most confident about my little boobies, but I'm getting there. And for the meantime, I'm definitely going to be enjoying Victoria's Secret in life.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord an ample chest to make. Below my face as I need. I refuse to start the ninth grade. That was me. When I started high school, I barely wore an A-cap. Oh, I used to wish on every star I saw in the sky to be blessed with an ample chest. To be able to fill out a shirt without 2 spare pieces of fabric just hanging out where my breasts were meant to be. Oh, I wanted boobs so badly. I refer to them as my chest. I worked hard enough, they suddenly appear. I continued through high school and they did not appear. It took long for me to realize how flat I was compared to my other girlfriends. But you you know, even with that, I don't really remember anybody making me feel less than for having less than. But somehow I couldn't escape the pressures I felt when I saw other teenage girls in magazines or TV shows or in movies. Well, I sure as hell didn't look like most of them. I looked much younger, especially physically. I felt more like a child than a woman. Less desirable, less feminine than other girls. Oh, and every time I complained, which was a lot, my grandma would say, "Oh, honey, it's okay. Mine didn't come in until I was in my 30s. Yeah, her chest was huge. I had to have hope, right? Well, as time went on, I tried to remain confident. But I was envious of my friends who would have conversations that I could be a part of. They would say things like, "Oh, I can't run, it hurts." Yeah, well, I want to know what that was like. Plus, sound like a good way to get out of jail. There were some comments like, "Oh, I can't see from my stomach anymore." But then there's always this one, "Oh, you won't stop staring at my face." All that, it just made me want to have boobs. You know, I used to make fun of my own flat chest. And a lot of times when I went to sleepovers, I would put balloons under my shirt and make my friends laugh because I figured, hey, may as well make fun of myself because there's no reason feeling sorry for something I have absolutely no control over. But the one and only time I felt totally mortified about my chest is at one of my most intimate moments. You see, besides being severely flat, I had a little bit of a problem with sweating. I mean, it wasn't much, just a little bit of sweat. Under one armpit, to be exact. Well, one day, hanging out with my boyfriend, girls, I was wearing the cutest late 90s Metallica crop top. 5 minutes after hanging out, I noticed, oops, my arm was showing a 5 o'clock shadow. So, problem solved. I ran into the kitchen. I got a paper towel, and I folded it so nicely. And I put it under the sleeve of my right armpit. Problem solved, right? Yeah. Okay. 15 minutes into making out with my boyfriend. We were there. He gets his left hand. He puts it up my back. Oh, he's rubbing my back. I was so lost in the moment. Time just stood still. His hand stopped. He looked at me. His eyebrows were long and confused, like 2 little caterpillars crawling on that beard. And then his hand pulled the paper towel out from under my shirt so slowly I could feel every fiber of the bounty. I didn't know what to do. I was terrified. I just sat there. All of a sudden I go, "You silly goose, you pulled a lining out from under my shirt. Now I'm going to have my mom fix it. Bye." I grabbed that paper towel and I ran out of there so quickly. He didn't have a chance to say anything more. But on the drive home, all I could think of is, oh my God, he's going to think I stuck my bra. Everybody's going to think I stuck my bra. I am no longer going to be the funny flat girl, but the flat girl who stuffs her bra? Shit, I was mortified. Oh, just didn't know what to do. I mean, what would you do if somebody's pulling the lining out from under your shirt? So, I decided, a couple of weeks of stress, took a while to finally talk to him, told him the truth. And you know what? He was okay with it. But I was ashamed. By the time I started college, I started to actively come to terms with my little knockers. Oh yeah. I learned to accentuate my other physical attributes. I had nice eyes, nice hair. Back then though, I had great ass. But I just wanted boobs. I mean, some people would suggest me getting a boob job, but I don't know, there's this thing that surgery will complete my body somehow, make me sexier, more womanly. Oh, it was tempting. And as tempting as it was, I just knew I had to love me for the way I was. Although I wanted boobs so bad, I just didn't see this as an option. Not even when I was offered a condo and a boob job, I would tell them off yet. My regret today is not taking a condo. I could really use that. So, would you want a condo?
Yeah.
Yes. And I said no. I took all the confidence I had, and I found a way to finally be fully happy with my body. Started wearing shirts more confidently. Didn't worry about wearing a padded bra anymore. No, hell, half the time I didn't even wear a bra. It was wonderful. And then something great started happening. I started to forget that I did not have boobs. It was no longer an issue. I was okay with it. And then one day, that changed. Actually, it took some time. I started noticing a little separation between the buttons on my button-up shirt. There was this little shadowing effect at the top of my chest around this that I'd never seen before. And one day when I was walking, they jiggled. One time when I was riding down the stairs, I told my roommate, "Hey, oh my God, they wiggle when I run." I was so excited. My boobs finally started to grow, and they continue to grow. First, I was a 32A. Suddenly, I became a 32B. And over time, okay, a couple years, I became a C cup. And I realized, wow, finally, after all this time of praying and wishing, my dream finally came true. My hope chest is now a reality. I know now what it's like to have these my boobs. Oh, yeah. Boy, is that annoying. Girls, I go into bars in the bathroom, they're like, "Oh my God, are those real? They're beautiful." Yeah, well, there's only one word for that. Annoying. But you know what? It was awesome. I love my boobs. I don't know, it's just something like that shouldn't matter because having breasts doesn't make us any more educated, uneducated, successful, unsuccessful. And I'm glad to have known what it's like to have or not have. But if I'm going to be honest, I love my boobs. I really, 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 really love my boobs. Now my only concern is losing them. Now I pray me, please, Lord, I want to keep my boobs. A the fucking man.
I'm not actually transgender. I'm gender fluid, which means I don't identify with a fixed gender, and I've known this almost all my life. I am, however, female-bodied, which means boobs. I hate them. I always have. Wearing a bra feels restrictive and wrong. I found wearing a binder makes my already asthmatic lungs weak. I have chest pain no 20-year-old should have. Transmasculine top surgery, getting rid of the old hair, seemed like a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I mean, some days I love wearing low-cut dresses, but even in feminine presenting clothing, it feels weird having these lumps. Most days I smile ear to ear when I hear someone yelling, "Excuse me, sir?" I never really thought about going through with it until my job offered medical benefits, which included top surgery. That's something really special because technically it's considered a cosmetic and therefore unnecessary surgery. I consider myself lucky because my body dysmorphia ebbs and flows, causing only minor depressive episodes. I can't imagine waking up every day in what feels like the wrong body and then being told the surgery to correct that is not only unnecessary, but can cost about the down payment of a car. I was at Disney one time, and I saw a couple sitting on a bench. The larger of the two men was cisgender, having the gender and body he was assigned at birth, but the smaller of the two men was trans. He was passing to the average passerby, but I could notice his binder and the small behaviors I tried to copy. His partner had his hand on his face, soft in the sunlight, I watched them walk away, wearing their Mickey ears, holding hands and smiling. My heart filled with joy. For years, I dated a man who, when I told him was gender fluid, told me he couldn't picture me like that. Each time I brought it up, hoping for a positive response, he told me I needed to pick a side. I found this ironic since he identified as pansexual. He would go on to hurt me in more ways than one, including for when he left me with a cis woman with smaller breasts than me. But then I think about the couple I saw at Disney, and I know that somewhere out there, somebody loves me with or without my boobs. There's gotta be, because I know I do.
Boobs. I'm supposed to talk about boobs. What can I say that hasn't already been said? They're great. They're fine. They're okay. Really depends on what kind you got. I remember this one girl in middle school, Melanie. I won't give you her last name, but it was Fry. Fry with an I-E. I don't really know what nationality that is, but it always made me think of French fries. So maybe it's French. I don't know. Who's to say? Probably her ancestors, but I digress. Anyway, Melanie had the biggest boobs I'd ever seen, and we were 6th graders. She had, I remember thinking, dang, I wish I had those knockers. Especially when the guys were all oogling and oogling at her. You know, they'd be like, hey, Melanie, nice tits. Or, watch out, big boobies coming through. I remember they were so big that she had to wear not one, but 2 sports bras to keep them from bouncing so much. She'd be like, a-ba-boom, a-ba-boom, a-ba-boom. Can you say jealous? Mine would barely move if there was an earthquake. She used to complain to me about how much she hated those boys wouldn't stop teasing her or trying to touch them. Well, I told her it could be worse. She could have small tits like me and no one even pay attention to her. I mean, how dare she resent the greatest gift of God gave to women? The greatest gift, she said? Ugh, you have no idea how much I hate this gift. And one day, Melanie left our school. She and her parents, they moved to Colorado. And our science teacher, Mr. Carter, was fired. Well, that was almost 30 years ago, and Melanie and I haven't hung out in quite some time. But we are friends on Facebook. Her name is Being Now. Which, of course, again, makes me think of food. Only this time a little gassier. But she seems to be doing really well. She has a husband and 2 really cute pugs. Oh, and she just had a baby. There is this one photo of her breastfeeding her little girl, and I just think, wow, at one point she hated those things, and now they're providing life. What a magical thing. What a gift.
What the hell, Mother Nature? I was in my early 30s when I had my first child. Like all new mothers, I was terrified in the days leading up to my child's birth. But maybe not for the same reason as others. See, I had it somewhere in my mind that while attempting to breastfeed, I'd fall asleep. And one of these boulders would suffocate that beautiful little baby. I was afraid of my own breasts. They were potential murderers. And since Mother Mother Nature has a cruel sense of humor, she made sure to make as many changes to them in a short period of time as possible. Fun fact. Did you know your nipples change colors when you're pregnant?
I knew that.
Yeah?
No.
Yeah, I did not.
Now I know.
Not at all. So, no one shares that information with you. So you just wake up one day, different nipples. You look in the mirror and you exclaim, whose boobs are these? After 20 years, the same pals you've always had, look in the mirror, they just changed. No warning, no heads up. And then you start to swell. Because in addition to everything else a woman has to be in this world, dairy cow is on the list of job requirements. The first time they betrayed me, my kid was Overton. They wouldn't produce. These 36 F buckets were empty. They held no milk, only the tears shed by both myself and my baby. You're doing just great, Mama, cooed the kind nurse as I sobbed, knowing my child was starving, and these ridiculous udders were utterly worthless. By day 2, my well-meaning mother waited until I fell asleep in the hospital bed and fed my baby a bottle of formula. The baby was happy and fed. I was heartbroken, destroyed, empty in every sense of the word. But I'm no quitter. I tried everything. Pumped every hour. Ate all the lactation cookies and foods. Avoided all the bad foods. Saw all the lactation consultants. Once, I was able to pump a whole 4 ounces. I was so excited, I sent a picture to my husband. The caption read, "Successful cow." The 4 ounces was gone in 10 seconds and my poor child was starving again. After 3 weeks of trying doctor's visits and trying everything, I resigned myself to the fact that my infant was going to be formula fed despite my best efforts. 22 days after my baby was born, they gave their last hurrah by the lettuce display. I was standing in the produce section at Target and some kid starts to cry. Suddenly I realized I had fluid running down my body. And honest to God, I looked up at the ceiling for a split second and I thought, is that rain? They never gave another damn drop. Breast friends, my ass.
There will now be a 10-minute intermission, so we will be back at 8:22.
Yeah, I gotta admit to being a long-time boob man. I like them small, firm, and standing tall. Large, luscious, and full, with a little drop. Bring them all on. There's one thing, though, and I know a lot of men and lesbians may disagree with me on this one, but I'm just not a fan of overdone bolt-ons.
Yeah.
You know, those implausibly shaped Mongo orbs that, without exception, look like they could hold up a shelf full of trophies or a couple beer steins. Why, you ask? They look great. As a connoisseur of boobage, feel and comfort factor in big time. Now, what most of us man boys won't admit is that we have cried and sniffled into a fine pair of chests more than once, in addition to playing the game of motorboat on occasion. There's something about when a woman pulls you into her chest that just soothes the soul. Bolt-ons, that's like laying your head on an overinflated air mattress. Now, one thing I've learned in a lifetime pursuit of fine tatas is that a woman's unique scent lies often strongest right between her breast. Guys, this is why women put their perfume there. But I gotta admit, honestly, I prefer a woman's natural scent. The pheromones rage strongly, and breathing them in gives you a chill of appreciation for the beauty of all women. Now, while many of you listening may be offended by my comments, just know that they are honest and come from a true affinity for the majesty that is woman.
Breasts come in all shapes and sizes. One may be bigger, areola darker, or fuller. One might be perkier than the other. Nipples can point in completely different directions. One may be bigger or stand up taller, full cleavage, or breasts that never meet. Just like snowflakes, literally, no two are alike. No matter, each shape, size, and color is imperfectly perfect. 30 minutes to writing.
Thank you. How does one go about having breasts that have never met? To put it simply, they don't touch. Cleavage, I do not know her. My breasts are like long-lost sisters who don't even know of each other's existence. Will they meet serendipitously like in the Parent Trap? Forget about it. If I do indeed want cleavage, I have to smush them together myself, and I end up with a cross-eyed torso with eyes further apart than E.T. And I what is the fun in that? Pretend each of my breasts is a house. They are, in fact, neighbors. Far, far apart neighbors. Neighbors so far apart that they are, in fact, neighbors, even though that they have different zip codes. Did these two have a restraining order against each other that I didn't know about before I hit puberty? Now, thankfully, they do not fall into my armpits yet. Aside from all of this, there are some bright sides to this situation. Most of the women in my family do have a similar chesticle setup, so we can bitch about it to each other. It helps to know that we are not alone. And I can lay down and set a bowl of chips right here. No big booby pillows to get in the way. So my girls may have some distance between them, but my low and lovely ladies are all mine, and I am pretty damn proud of them. I was 12 or 13 before I started to really notice. Well, I didn't notice myself. It took a few months of classmates staring disturbed at my chest to realize my chi-chis were growing and I was becoming a woman. Yay. Within a year, I was a C-cup. Or at least one of them was. My left lady lump was growing faster than the other one, and I was horrified. Doctors assured me this was common. I could not verify this at the time because I didn't know anyone else with funhouse titties. I just assumed that my boobs were weird. After another year, what started to spring up from my happy bag shocked me.
There were hairs and pimples. This was not the fine-ass feminine body I was hoping for. I was a chubby kid, so when I lost weight in high school, I wound up with tube sock titties. So now my breasts are lopsided, hairy, pimply, and floppy. Fantastic. I mean, how am I supposed to feel confident when I have to keep shifting around a sweaty chicken cutlet in my right thumb? All the loose skin meant that my boobs sloshed like waterbeds in my bra. And that, my friends, is when I discovered the double bra trick. Using the first bra provides you comfort and support. The second one straps those puppies in tighter than leggings on a Kardashian. And now, all these years later, I found peace. I found acceptance and understanding, because the truth is, as women, we have to acknowledge that all our boobs are weird. Your boobs are weird. And your boobs are weird. And yes, even your boobs are weird. Humans are a disgusting, smelly, hairy race. But I think we can find solidarity in that, because the truth is, no one cares as much about your boobs as you do. I promise.
I don't recall ever wearing a training bra. I do remember the boys on the playground running up behind me at recess and snapping the back of my bra in 4th grade. I remember that my bras always seemed to be too small. My mom seemed to constantly be buying me a new one because I was falling out of the top of my bras. I was a very active person, a tomboy, they called us girls, who ran around, climbed trees, climbed the fort, which was a bunch of telephone poles cut in half and stuck in the ground in a square with an opening for the door. My boobs just got in the way. I remember thinking, when I'm older, I'm going to get them cut off. My bras never, ever fit right. The first letter I remember was a B at 11 years old. I stayed into the B's until college, when I moved into the C realm. I was active in sports, so that's what kept them relatively small, at least from my view above them. When I became a full-fledged adult, I moved to California. Well, you know, I grew up watching MTV like everyone else, so I knew everyone in California was skinny. I don't know how I began to swell up. Well, yes, I do. Office potlucks, food trucks, Knott's Berry Farm with his boysenberry biscuits and jam and their fried chicken, pan-sit, tacos, egg rolls, sticky rice. I mean, California has food from everywhere. Where did all this delicious food come from? Well, and being who I am, I suffered from the black girl disease. Tits, ass, and thighs. I had 2 out of the 3. And by then, I was into a D cup. I always had the 3rd boob syndrome.
Growing up, I had brothers. And those brothers had boy friends. And we were always cool. I had sisters too, but I didn't really rock with them too much. I was always running, jumping, climbing trees, a tomboy, right? So when my boobs started growing in too big and too fast, I assumed it was because I was too busy in a tree or on the monkey bars to properly train them. I'm not even sure what had happened, really. It seemed like one weekend I was scraping my knee, falling off my bike, and the next, my mom has me in a department store trying on training bras. Well, that was a wasted effort because they were all too small, and I ended up getting a regular one. None of that AA cup nonsense over here. In my class photo, I am wearing a baby blue long sleeve sweater, and I have boobs as big as the teacher. The only girl with any real boobs to speak of, something like a 34B. And I'm smiling because it's a class photo and my parents were paying for a copy, and that's just what you do. But God, that year was awful. Not a day went by that I didn't get my bra strap snapped in the back or have some boy just stare. And it didn't help that I was one of the tallest kids in the class. Well, in the 5th grade, Stephen thought it would be a great idea to grab my boob, now a 36C, from the back while we were waiting in line for the school bus. Well, I slapped his face so hard, it slammed into a brick wall. And I got suspended from school for a week. My mom was all right with it, so I was all right with it. So, a couple years later, he walks up to me, and he says, "Do you remember me?" And I look, and I see the scar on his face. Stephen! Well, by the 9th grade, my boobs and I had called the truce. They agreed to be as low-key as possible, and I agreed to ignore them. And except for the one time that I thought a sports bra would contain those 38C behemoths so I could join the track team, the truce worked out great. That one was my bad. I take full blame. So one day, I go shopping with my girl. Now, my girlfriends were true girls. Hairstyles, makeup, boy crazy, nail polish, the whole 9 yards. To this day, I have no idea where we were from. But we go to the mall, and we end up in Victoria's Secret for some reason I do not remember. What I do remember is arguing with this very pushy saleswoman over what size bra I wear. What I wear, she measures me and says, "You're a 34B. Okay. Having been burdened with these behemoths for many years at this point, I say, "No, I'm not." And so we dance. After many rounds of her, so try this one on, and me showing her the overboob spillage. Or maybe this one, and me showing her the not quite there connection of the straps in the back. She hands me a 38C, and I take it without, and I told you so. And so I made my first solo bra purchase. I take the bra home, and I proudly show it to my mother, whom I assume, being a large-breasted woman herself, will share my joy in having found a pretty bra. My mother, I should mention here, was a firm supporter of the standard pointy but guaranteed to fit cross your heart bras that were sold in a box at JCPenney. 100% reliable, 100% unattractive. So I show her the bra, and she says, "What is this?" And I say, "It's a miracle bra!" And I launch into the spiel that the saleswoman at Victoria's Secret gave me about the fit and the material and the miracle. She interrupts, clearly having heard nothing I had said up to this point. "The Lord has given you plenty enough miracles all on his own, so you can take that mess and march right back on down to that store and return it." So I did. Because any woman who goes through that much pain to have you is clearly working on a master revenge plan. And you don't press your luck there.
When I was younger, I was shapely. A circle is a shape, right? It is. I got my dangerous curves managed by losing a shit ton of weight. I unfortunately lost my breast buddies in the process. I was a Hooters girl whose Hooters had flown the coop. One of my girlfriends at Hooters said that jargon when creating memories. But what did I know? I was a newly thin, deflated hooter girl with a trust fund. My mother insisted that I go see another doctor. We'll call him Dr. Two. Dr. Two said that I would need a complete breast lift, which meant an anchor-sized scar around the nipple, down the breast, and from side to side. Me being a foolish 24-year-old decided that, nah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm gonna go with the cheap guy, because not only could I get a new set of tatas, but I could get a new outfit and a new pair of shoes to go with it. Priorities, right? So, Dr. One fills my saggy pancakes, skyrocketing my once saggy C's to a ginormous double D. He put them on top of the chest wall, and he put them on top of the muscle. So whenever I would hug somebody, all I felt was plastic. Odd. But I was okay with it, and I kept those boobs for about a year until I had my daughter. You know, nobody tells you that when your milk comes in, your breasts change. They turn into huge, bulbous, milky, lumpy milk mountains. This is the only way I could describe the dangling orbs that were hanging downward from my breasts. To put it into perspective, my breasts were a double K. That's right, folks. Through the alphabet twice. Double K. They were so big that they fell off the chest wall. I have pictures of my daughter breastfeeding what appears to be a mammoth flesh-colored beach ball. Worried that this is the end of the story, but no. The rest is yet to come. So after the birth of my daughter and I had those dangling boobs, I decided that I would in fact finally go back to number 2, Dr. Two. So I went to Dr. Two and he gave me the reduction that I needed in the first place. Anchor-sized scar, down the breast, side to side. He worked on my boobs for 8 hours. That's a very long time. And I'm here to tell you that my skin started to turn blue. So he had to stitch me up. Now, when you get a new pair of boobs, the first thing you do is you run as fast as you can to show your best friend. So I went to my best friend's work and I ran into her bathroom and she followed me and we stood at the mirror and I got ready to show her the treasures on my chest and I opened up and my best friend looked at me and she went, "Honey, they're square." Square? Oh, no way, they couldn't possibly be. Oh my God, she's right. They were square. Well, they weren't exactly square, but they were boxy. Not breast-shaped whatsoever. And they had horrible, horrible scars on them. Franken-tit was destined to be born! Decent. They were decent. They weren't Playboy centerfold like I wanted. They weren't shaped like I wanted. But I kept them. I kept those breasts for 10 years.
but still the swan song. I could hear it. For the best breast money could buy. So I go back to Dr. Two. And finally, a perfect set. Playboy centerfold, gorgeous. And the teardrop shape, each tiny nipple, it put right where it needed to go. Perfection. My husband thought they were pretty perfect too, because about 6 months later I got pregnant again with my second daughter. Now, having another child changed those ma'am-tastic beauties. You know, it's ironic. Nobody ever knows that I have fake boobs. They look just like everybody else's boobs. I mean, to think that I went through all of that time, money, pain, to end up basically with what I started with in the first place. Big, beautiful, sagging breasts. But hey, at least everybody thinks they're real. Here, let me show you.
I admit it. I am now, and always have been, obsessed, enamored, and mesmerized by breasts.
Newt!
Something about him.
Well, many of you might believe that that's not so strange. I've come to believe that my preoccupation has been a distraction at times. Not to get too Freudian about it, but I blame my mother. I mean, after all, I am a child of a baby boom generation. And my mother, being the Jewish mother, like all the rest of them, decided that she didn't need to breastfeed. And I've come to believe that this deprivation is what's caused my fascination with this particular part of a woman's body. As a young teenager, I would always try to obtain the latest copy, either legally or illegally, of Playboy magazine. And as while I was having my ocular muscles stimulated, along with the other parts of my body, I was duped into believing that adolescent girls would all eventually turn into D-cup status. Then I began to think about it. And I began to wonder, would this Playboy mentality have caused all those women to go out in search of breast enhancement surgeries? Could I have been a willing bystander to this Playboy attitude? Shame on you, Hugh Hefner! Shame on you, Hugh Hefner! Now, college was very confusing to me. I mean, after all, it was the early 70s, and the no-bra look was in vogue. Now, naturally, I supported the young college co-eds to demonstrate their freedom. But I often wondered, has this Playboy attitude caused some women to feel rejected because they weren't stacked, which became a favorite word of this pubescent boy? Had I become a willing participant in this attitude? Later on, when I became a middle-aged college professor, young women who came into my class, they would wear blouses showing a remarkable amount of cleavage sometimes. Talk about your distractions and your Freudian slips. Can you imagine trying to give a lecture on the meaning of memory without saying memory instead of memory? But as I grew older and I grew into a senior adult status, I began to believe that women are women, regardless of their breast size, and that those breasts are just one of the attributes of their total existence. And I had come to believe in personality over any particular anatomical part. Yet, I am still in wonderment over women's breasts. And that's because it makes me feel younger. And while this might make me seem terribly shallow to some of you, I really hope that amazement never goes away.
At age 11, I was proud to finally need a bra to secure them. At age 19, I was happy to proudly display them. The first man to actually see my breasts bared touched them, kissed them, and proclaimed that they were worthy of being seen in the pages of Playboy magazine. At the age of 21, my fiancé compared them to luscious, ripe melons. At the age of 22, I was overjoyed to offer them to my firstborn baby daughter as she eagerly suckled them. At age 23, I was horrified and shocked to find the first of many lumps. The first male doctor that cut them was cold and detached, but he delivered that biopsy result benign. Diagnosis, fibrocystic disease. Be sure to watch it carefully. Dense breasts can easily hide cancer. Well, after that, I found a female surgeon to regularly follow the condition. She was warm and friendly and had a lovely bedside manner. She would give me a single red rose every time she had to cut my breast for a biopsy. Throughout my 30s and 40s, several more biopsies led me to feel relief and complacency. At age 48, after a particularly frightening biopsy, I composed a poem to thank her for taking care of the boo-boo on my boobie. I watched the colors on the scar fade from purple to blue to yellow as I waited and waited for that return visit to her office to receive the results. I waited to hear, expecting to hear a benign result. She looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, this time it was malignant. But just because you have cancer doesn't mean you're going to die." I sat there shocked, confused, angry. I kept asking myself, why me? Why cancer? I was fortunate to find a good oncologist and a reputable plastic surgeon. I had a modified radical mastectomy with immediate breast reconstruction using the tram flat method. They tunneled through my abdominal muscles to create a new right breast, which was radiated after standard chemotherapy using the big guns, and then probably overkill stem cell rescue therapy to prevent reoccurrence in the other breast. So at age 50, I stood in the mirror and looked at the maze of lines and scars and this new mound of flesh with its nipple made from hip skin and a tattooed areola, and sadly compared my chest to a patchwork quilt. But then I thought about it and decided that, you know what? Patchwork quilts are a beautiful form of feminine art. So the following year, with newfound confidence in my body, I posed semi-nude for a fundraising women's calendar. It was August, the birth month of my mother, who was diagnosed with cancer after I was. At age 54, I screamed in emotional agony as my 32-year-old baby girl told me she needed a double mastectomy. She had cancer in both breasts. I had genetic testing for the mutation BRCA1. Positive results led me to be proactive in prevention of cancer in my ovarian cancer and cancer in my other breast. That led to a hysterectomy, as well as another mastectomy, this time with silicone implants to form my new left breast. Angry, disgusted, and not caring how I looked, I didn't even bother having a left nipple made. Nowadays, I struggle with chronic scar tissue discomfort, fear that my implant may be leaking, and the occasional stabbing pain. I struggle with the reflection in the mirror that shows me two mismatched, lopsided breasts. In the past 50 years, I have gone from looking at a chest that symbolized beautiful, sensual symbols of femininity, objects of desire for my boyfriends, to something that no gas gorilla pirate would ever throw beads at. And then I recall that I once compared my chest to a patchwork quilt. And after all, quilts are beautiful, unique forms of feminine art.
Getting boobs when I was about 11. That Christmas, oh my God, I got a training bra and a beautiful blue poodle skirt that my mother made. I was totally obsessed with Grease, right? I distinctly remember this picture of me sitting by the fireplace in my poodle skirt and my training bra with my back to the camera, obviously. God, I was so proud. And I was mortified later when my friend Carrie, a boy, came over to play. The box was still on the fireplace. Oh my God, he was gonna see the box. He was gonna know I'm a girl. I'm a girl with a bra. That's it. He's gonna look at me different. We're not gonna be able to play anymore because he used to play with a tomboy and now she's a girl with a bra. As suddenly as my breasts began to bud, they stopped growing altogether, leaving me at about an A- cup size, waiting for that training bra to just teach them to do something, anything. In high school, the padded bra became my best friend. In spite of my very flat frame, I did manage to get myself invited to a lot of formal dances. And my mom, or sometimes my grandmother, would always make my dresses. So whenever I would go for a fitting, my grandmother, God bless her, may she rest in peace, would bemoan my boy-like bosom. Oh, it is such a shame your chest won't grow. You could be so much prettier. Then with a heavy sigh, she would hand me her industrial strength foam, rubber, and wire contraption of a bra that she used to wear in the 50s so that my dresses wouldn't look so pitiful.
Oh my word.
So then college hit. And I went to see the nurse in the health center, you know, for my annual physical. And she asks me, "Are you performing breast self-exams?" And I said, "No, I don't really know." And she said, "Oh, no problem, I'll teach you." And as she opened my beautiful paper gown, she went, "Oh, they're so small. At least you will never, ever have to worry about breast cancer." Fighting to hold on to just a shred of my dignity, I thanked her and consoled myself with the knowledge that that was the last time I would ever think of breast cancer. Shortly thereafter, several of my sorority sisters and I decided to go spend the weekend at my parents' house while they were out of town. Cue that adolescent boy, naked pillow fight fantasy music. Go ahead. Came from somewhere. We drank, obviously. We ate, we laughed, we drank more and more. And somebody had the bright idea that we should all go skinny dipping. Of course. My top barely had time to hit the ground before my roommate yelled, "Damn, Ragg, those are the tiniest tits I've ever seen!" She went to boarding school, so I realized she'd seen a lot. You get it. Small boob shame was the name of my game. But no breast cancer. I'll take it. Time marched on, as it does. And in my 30s, twice divorced, I began to gain weight. I was shocked to see that my boobs started to grow right along with me. My grandmother was overjoyed. By then, though, she had moved on to, "You used to be so attractive." You know, I don't know what happened. You were, it's true. I don't know. Oh, right, you got fat. And you did that to your hair. You believe I was her favorite? Hashtag true story, I swear to God. Then I hit my 40s. And soon after my 46th birthday, I woke up really early in the morning and I was, God, I was so sore. So I'd doing work outside the night before and I was feeling around like, damn, where is that spot, you know, that's going to release everything? And what the heck? I found something that wasn't supposed to be here. Started to panic. So I began to explore in earnest. Okay, what shape is it? Does it move? Does it hurt? Does it have a twin on the other side? And then I tried to breathe. Because I realized, well, it's kind of shaped like a piece of popped popcorn. It doesn't move. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't really have any feeling. It doesn't have a twin on the other side. In that moment, I absolutely knew which was wrong, and it was breast cancer. So, 6 days, a mammogram, an ultrasound, and a biopsy later, I had the official diagnosis. Invasive ductal carcinoma. It's one of the most common forms of breast cancer there is. I sat there just praying I could remember that nurse's name, because my God, would I tell her something about who the hell gets breast cancer. This being the 2000s, I went to Facebook and announced my plans for a complete double mastectomy with reconstruction. To my shock and awe, friends set up a Facebook page to follow my progress. They set up dinner delivery for my family as I recovered. Another friend brought me a pair of pink boxing gloves. I embraced the hashtag gloves up. All my visitors could sign them. I started a blog, and by God, I was ready to fight. 3 weeks later, under general anesthesia, both of my breasts were removed and replaced with expanders, which is really just a fancy word for what looks like half of an uninflated beach ball. Every 2 weeks they fill them with fluid, and they use it to stretch out the tissues and the muscle and the skin under the muscle. Until they're ready for the real implants later. What nobody ever tells you is that still small voice, you know, the one that shows up at the quiet times, say, sure, you have everything you need. Phenomenal surgical staff, amazing friends and family, a job that's giving you the time you need to go get this done, insurance. And you can still die. You can die on the table. You can be fine. And it can get you later. Don't get too comfortable. They don't tell you that you wake up from the surgery in so much pain. It feels like your whole chest is on fire, like you're burning from the inside out, and anytime you move or you put just a little bit of pressure on your hands or your arms, it feels like everything inside your chest is tearing apart, like you're destroying exactly what they just spent all that time doing. And the fear that they're going to have to do it over again is almost worse than the pain. Almost. But that fire that you feel, you're supposed to feel that. It means that it's working. It means that you are winning. So now, 6 years later, I am currently status NED, NED. No evidence of disease. It's my plan to stay that way. But you know, if that big C comes calling for me again, I will lace up those gloves, I will step back into that ring, and I'm gonna fight. For me and for all of the people who can't fight anymore. We have lost so many people since this journey started. Too many. And the reality is, we're gonna lose more. But I will be here fighting with every breath in my body and reminding everyone, all of you, please check your breasts. You will know. If you find something that's not supposed to be there, you will know. And it just might save your life. Hashtag gloves up.
As a young wife and a mother of two, I really had no idea what I was going to do in any given situation. Whatever life threw at me, right? And then I lost my sister-in-law, age of 29, breast cancer. She was so damn young, you know, to see my husband, to see his family go through that. And then, of course, just a few years later, I felt a lump in my breast. Of course, I went right to the clinic just to see what's going on, right? I mean, I have to get it checked, and I'm sitting there waiting, and of course, the doctor, he says, it'll be fine. Wait 30 days. Come on back, babe. You're fine. What? I asked, isn't it maybe gonna come back, you know, somewhere else? It's not just disappear. No, it'll probably be fine. It'll be good. Just come back in 30 days. Reassuring. Okay, so I waited and waited and waited, and of course, still there. Still annoying. Not painful, but it's there. It's there in my mind and in my breast. So I went back for a biopsy. Fuck, did that hurt? Ooh. But then I waited to see what my options were. This time when I went back to the clinic, I brought my husband because I heard what I might have to go through, and well, you know what? I said, if you're gonna take one breast, you might as well just take both, right? I mean, I'd rather, you know, be flat-chested than lopsided for the rest of my life, right? In my victorious moment, look at me, the doctor and the nurse, my husband had just left the room so they could examine me, and they asked, well, have you asked your husband about this decision? Well, it's my body, right, Dad? It's my body and it's my choice, so I really hadn't thought about it at that moment, but, well, then it hit me. I never really thought about how scared my husband probably was. He had lost his sister not that long before.
Mastectomy. What an ugly word to describe the glory that once sat on my chest. Mastectomy? No, doctor. No. That cannot be. Please, I mean, isn't there any other way that we could solve this? I'm only 35. I haven't had my children yet. Will all this chemotherapy make it impossible for me to have children? Will I be able to save my breast? I want to breastfeed. The doctor shook his head no to every plea. Mastectomy. There is an upside, he said. Down the road, we can do reconstructive surgery. And we could even bring you up to a C cup. Oh, that'll look good on your body. Get out! I screamed. I screamed for all the ugly steps I rolled down. I screamed for all the ugly touching my brother lasciviously treated himself to. I screamed for the ugly ignorance of my brothers and my sisters.
here's what they missed. My strength is stronger than any of them. Doctors, nurses, brothers, mothers, fathers, sisters, painkillers, needles, medical marijuana, breast cancer, mastectomy. So okay, I said. After the operation, let's see what they look like. My hands and joints were sweating as I grabbed the handrails of the hospital bed. My husband held up the mirror so I could look at the new landscape on my chest. A lateral scar where there once was a nipple. Corrugated flesh where there once was a mound of pleasure on the pathway of lust. My husband looked at me as if this was maybe his penance for cheating on me, as a wife with no breast, as if it was his mea culpa in life. He saddened like a 3-year-old, left alone at the nursery school. He figured this was his penance. When you're the one that's sick all the time, you find yourself cheering people up so they're not uncomfortable by your pain. So I cheered him up. Honey, it's gonna be okay, I said. The doctor said that I'm gonna get new ones. C-cups. Oh, he said sweetly. Do you think that they could do a D? No words.
I remember the lady at the department store measuring me and telling me this. And although I had had these breasts for 35 years, my reaction was totally like, I am? So when I think 34D, I think here, not here. I remember calling my husband and telling him what the lady said, and his response was, what? No. What? Like, that sounds right, but what? Like, that's wishful thinking. So you see, it wasn't just me. All my life, I've had small boobs. I'm fine with it. Doesn't bother me at all. But, like so many things about our appearances, society seemed to be bothered by it. I wasn't. But, I figured I have what I have. It is what it is. When I was younger, in my teens, my early 20s, I considered myself lucky. I didn't have to worry about, in middle school, boys snapping my bra strap, because I didn't have to wear one yet. I didn't have to worry about them flopping around if I suddenly had to run, and I didn't have to worry about them falling to my waist when I got older. So, lucky. Well, when I had my daughter, it's when I first began to be envious of not having bigger boobs. I was under the impression that once I started breastfeeding, they would somehow just get bigger so my daughter could feed. But they actually stayed about the same. I thought all the crying that my poor daughter did was because I was somehow broken. But it turned out that she just had really bad acid reflux. Actually, both of my kids were really colicky for the first year and didn't sleep very much. The only person who could get them to sleep was my mom. She had what I called magic titties. They were like two big, warm, fluffy pillows. And with her, my babies would snuggle up and instantly fall asleep. With me, they just toss and turn and never quite find that magical quality, just restful. It didn't help that most of the women on both sides of my family were actually voluptuous. And here I was, just nyeh and nyeh. But in my 40s, that's when I learned how fast everything can change and turn on you. My sister was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And I remember learning more about it, and once breast cancer hits close to home, you start to realize just how many women fight this disease. And sometimes more than once, and sometimes unsuccessfully. And for the next few months, I would feel around, and if my breasts were tender at all, I would get so scared that maybe cancer was coming for me next. I got my first mammogram because of my sister's diagnosis. And that was the first time I felt like my breasts were actually these. The swelling after that exam was so painful. I thought maybe I did have cancer. I watched my sister lose her hair and her energy and her breasts. I helped empty her drains. But I also helped her pick out what kind of implant she should get, and if she should get nipples or tattoos. The whole process was so surreal, but she got through it with only the strength that only a badass like her could have. And so when I look down at my breasts, I don't see them as something to want to be bigger. They're just a part of me, like anything else. And they have nursed 2 babies, and they've been with me my whole life. When I have to go for my mammogram, I stress and I worry. But then I think about all the women who have had to struggle. And I think of them, and I think of my sister, and I just get it done. My breasts are a part of me. They don't define me or my worth as a woman. And big or small or funhouse chicken cutlets or they never met, they're on top of the breast wall or under the breast wall. Breasts are beautiful. We are beautiful.
Breasts.
Bulbous, bouncy.
Jiggly, fluffy,
Shapely.
Magnificent.
Average, firm,
Soft, full,
voluptuous,
divine, endless, hefty.
Awe-inspiring.
Ample, satisfying.
swollen,
nurturing, tender, painful,
Speckled, mammogrammed.
Cancerous, radiated.
reconstructed, reclaimed.
Breasts.